Welcome to Time Freedom Daily. This is your spot for daily nuggets on everything to do with time freedom. We're going to talk about business, motivation, investing. And today is, Chris,
It's Crypto Tuesday,
rock and roll.
and it's a good day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's a good day to be a Crypto Tuesday.
I'm loving it, man. I'm loving the news. It's extremely bullish. It's exciting, man. Where we're going with this market and what crypto has done for us over the last 12 to 18 months, man. It's super exciting.
It
So let's
is.
just dive in.
We haven't even had a chance to see what your light looks like red.
I know, right? It's been green the whole time, right? It's nice, Let's not
For you
jinx
guys
it.
that don't know, you guys don't know yet, but that light behind John can be green or red, and it's been green every day. So I'm like, let's not.
Absolutely not. Let's not jinx it, right?
Exactly. Well, let me go to the markets, and then we'll jump into some crypto news and some crypto knowledge that we got here. Let me bring this up to full screen so you can see it better. Market cap, $500 billion, give or take a couple hundred million. That is amazing. 24-hour volume. That seems low. It's 90 billion, but it does still seem a little low, which normally may be a problem, but things are moving in the right direction. You normally want a little more volume to confirm those moves, but again, we're not complaining.
Nope.
Look at that. The top 10 is decidedly green today. Everything is up except for Solana and Polkadot, which are just kind of flat, but Bitcoin 63.3. That is it's within 1,000 or so of its all-time high. So that is
So close.
Super exciting. We did have an all-time high close on the weekly, which is, I think we talked about that the other day, but that is amazing. And probably today we could see a new all-time high for Bitcoin. It's amazing.
Yeah, it might break and retrace, but we definitely have that upward movement. And going back down to Polkadot real quick, I just want to point out that even though it's down a little bit today, look at the 30-day.
Yeah,
We're up. What was it, like 19%? I mean,
Well, that's 7 days.
You're right.
Up
Oh, wow.
20% in a week.
Yeah, so it just pumped. So to have a little dip is sometimes they cool off for a little bit, so it's not a big deal. So I like to look at that 7-day and see where we're heading on the weekly. So, but that was coiled up for a long time, and that's ready to jump. And for those who don't know, Polkadot is a very similar project to Ethereum. It's actually created by one of the original creators of Ethereum, Gavin Wood, and it is a layer one where you can have dApps and programs running on top of the blockchain, and it's got its own ecosystem. So, very exciting project, and I'm invested in it. Me personally, again, we're not providing any financial advice here, but it's something that we have. I put some of my money into.
Yep, absolutely, I agree. I love Polkadot, and they have some really exciting stuff coming. They're developing their parachains, which work multi-chain, and we'll go into that on a later day. It gets into a little more advanced topics, but it basically means that they can work with a lot of other systems, a lot of companies, a lot of other blockchains. They're really out branching themselves out to be fairly universal, which is really exciting. Bitcoin dominance at 47.5%. ETH is 17.9, still around that 18%. Really, why we look at those numbers, because Bitcoin is, of course, the king. Bitcoin takes up 47% of the entire market. Number has gone up the last couple of days. It means with Bitcoin's rise, the excitement right now is all with Bitcoin, and it's kind of leaving everything else behind. Now everything else will probably catch up, and that's why Weston knows altcoins. But it's good to kind of pay attention to those top two, because they represent so much of the market. It kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of the flow, where the money's going, and when the money goes into the top two, eventually it will down, and you'll start to see that even out.
Absolutely.
So we do pay attention to those. Let me shrink this down. I'm on BITO, which we're going to go into in a minute, but let's look at the rest of the market. we said Bitcoin's up, Ethereum's up. The S&P, where is it? Is up not even 1%, up a little bit. NASDAQ about the same, up 0.6, and Jones up 0.5%. No complaints there. Tesla again, up again, 0.5%, 874 for Tesla. So yeah, good run for them. I know they got, talking about meme coins and meme stocks. Tesla became a big subject. It was earnings week for Tesla. Tesla kind of get attention of Wall Street bets guy. So they drove a lot of that big run this last week. Just
Love it, love it. I invest in Tesla as well. Again, that's something that I've been invested in. Is one of those stocks that when the market tanked back in March after COVID hit, it was one of those companies that I said, you know what, there's not a reason why it should have gone down the way it was, and I put some money into it, and it's been a really nice investment. I think I'm upwards of 600% since that very first buy. So very, very happy with my return on that as well. So definitely exciting to see that pump.
That is, I agree. So do you want to go over BITO?
Sure. So today was the day. BITO is the Bitcoin Futures ETF. It's an exchange traded fund, and it went live this morning. It's up about 2%. At least it was. Again, generating $500 million in volume in the first hour of trading, and
amazing.
This is the first step into getting Bitcoin embraced in the stock market. Right now, we have a few coin funds that are trusts that charge a fee. There's a premium, so you don't really get the full price swing or the full valuation on what you're investing. But it's still, with the upward trend, you're still making money. So Grayscale has one of those traded trusts, and now we have our first Bitcoin futures ETF. So futures means that when everything is being settled, it's not actually being settled in actual Bitcoin. It's being traded and settled in fiat currency, basically paper money. So you're not having that full impact, but it does track where futures are. And if we went and take a look at the futures CME, you would see that there's probably $4 billion currently being traded, if not maybe 3.5 billion, but I know it's somewhere between 3.5 and $4 billion currently being traded long on the futures contracts, which means you're betting that the price is going to go up over time versus shorting it, which means you're betting it's going to go down. So everyone is very, very bullish, which, if you're trading with leverage, this is getting a little technical. You can trade on certain platforms with leverage where you can get liquidated very, very quickly. There's probably a lot of that going on. And, if you're doing that or thinking about doing that, be very, very careful, because you could lose your shirt in a hot minute. And it's happened before. And that's where you see these big drops in the Bitcoin price, because people are getting liquidated, and on the way down, the momentum continues because people are getting liquidated, which drives the price, which is why you see those 20, 30% drops some days, because we call them whale games. The whales see that because everything on the blockchain is public knowledge. You don't know who owns the Bitcoin, but you can see where the leverage is. And then the whales come in and they do something to that market to make it drop. And then what they're doing is, when it drops to the final number, they reaccumulate. So they exited their dollars up top, and when they exit, the price starts dropping, right? So let's just say they exited at $60,000. And then after the day's over and the drop is over and everybody gets liquidated, it goes down to, say, $50,000. Well, they're going to rebuy back in at $50,000, accumulating those Bitcoin that are now on the market because people have lost them on leverage trading. So be very careful. So that is what the ETF is trading against. It's trading against those futures. So we definitely have exposure with Bitcoin on this one. But what we really want to see, which is the next story, and Chris, you want to touch on this one, is Grayscale, which is the largest Bitcoin holder at the moment in their trust, is actually looking to go to a spot, which means it's actually backed by physical Bitcoin. And Chris, why don't you tell our viewers about that one right now?
Well, absolutely. And it's kind of the same idea, and the idea is that it makes it really easy. So if you're already all in on the stock market and you're familiar with the stock market and how it works, and you're familiar with your TD Ameritrade account or your E-Trade account, this is going to be listed right there. You can go right through your own account that you're already comfortable with. There's already going to be a new option for you to invest in. And the difference being, if Grayscale gets their spot account, that means that they need to own Bitcoin. It's going to be an actual fund that owns Bitcoin. It's going to move up with the value of Bitcoin. Now, what that means is makes it easier for a whole lot of investors that didn't really want to go and open a Coinbase account or start learning how to buy a Bitcoin or what you do with a Bitcoin, how you sell a Bitcoin. For those people that didn't want to go down that road, all of a sudden now, right through E-Trade or Ameritrade or wherever your account is, you're going to be able to buy into this a trust, basically a fund that's already going to own these assets, and your account or your hopefully will go up as the Bitcoin goes up as well. But it contributes to the supply and demand curve of Bitcoin. With this trust having to own a certain amount, depending on how big it ends up getting, which these things can be huge. They're talking about 50 billion or so in the next year or so, which is that's huge. So imagine all of a sudden now there is a new wallet holding 50 billion worth of Bitcoin, and that's going to drive the price up again. So it's kind of this snowball effect in what we hope is the right direction.
Right. I mean, let's just, the ETF traded funds right now on the regular stock exchange are worth, I want to say it's like 13 or 14 trillion dollars. So there's a lot of money that's going to be moving out of that to get into Bitcoin because they want that volatility. They want to get those gains. And when you've got that trust that converts to a ETF that is spot backed, which means they got to hold that Bitcoin physically in an account to be at the same value of the dollars that are getting invested, that means that those Bitcoin are there for almost ever. However, they have that trust, and the S&P has been the SPY trust that we talked about the other day. It's been locked up for years. All of those stocks that are in that S&P 500 trust or fund are now locked up. So those stocks are always going to be there, and they're not going to be available in the float for anybody else to buy, which is the same thing with the Bitcoin fund. So, and you're going to have numerous ones. Once one gets approved, you're going to have more and more that get approved that are going to have to lock up as well. So it just opens the floodgates for institutions, just like Chris just said. They don't have to go out and buy their own Bitcoin and manage it themselves. They can just invest on a stock ticker, right? In their funds, in their hedge funds and all that stuff like that are now locked up. So it's super exciting. Again, once you got those Bitcoin locked up, they're there forever. And we don't have to worry about that supply being released. And that's only going to put leverage in the price to go up because the demand is still there and the supply is limited. So that's why people are talking about a $500,000 Bitcoin in the next 2 or 3 years, or $1 million Bitcoin by the end of by $1 million Bitcoin by the end of the decade. That is the volatility and the trajectory that it's going at. So very, very exciting. Very, very exciting.
Absolutely. Next, we want to talk about the fourth biggest coin, depending on the exchange you're looking at, Binance. Huge coin. A lot of you guys haven't even heard of the coin unless you're in the space, and then of course you've heard of it. But if you're kind of new to the space, you probably never heard of Binance. But Binance is huge, huge coin. To give you an idea, this is Binance here. Market cap of 80 billion. Yeah. So not a small entity. They just burning coins. These are digital assets. So you can't light them on fire. When they refer to burning coins, Binance burns almost $640 million worth of BNB, which is their token. Basically means you're sending off this amount of coins to a wallet that is locked. You can't take them back out. The coins are gone. So 640 million worth of Binance was just burned. Again, a huge effect to the supply and demand. And you can see, I pulled up the Binance. This is just in the last couple of days. You can see that it's gone from just over 400, 419 to 484, 495 in just a couple. That's what happens when supply and demand gets a disruption like that. It's nearly immediate, and a lot of these coins are going to be doing these burns as a prescribed measure of deflation or inflation, however you want to look at it. And, pretty amazing story.
Yeah, again, that's another coin that I personally own. Again, not financial advice. Do your own due diligence. This is just my opinion, but I've got a portion of that in my portfolio, and I'm just going to see where it goes. I mean, some major influencers and crypto experts here on YouTube and Twitter are expecting the Binance coin to continue to rise and potentially go up over $2,000 this cycle. So we'll see where that goes. We'll see what happens, but super exciting. But I wanted to talk about next, Chris, the what's happening up in Vancouver, which I thought was really, really cool. But before I talk about that story,
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, pull that up. But before, we had that Elon Musk news where, we're going to stop accepting Bitcoin for our Tesla. And, who was buying Teslas with Bitcoin anyway? You buy Bitcoin and you hold it, right? So
I think he sold either one or two Teslas in that whole year he was taking it. So
okay, gotcha. And, the funny thing is where he said he's not accepting Bitcoin, well, the company only sold 10% of their Bitcoin holdings. They're still up over $1 billion in their Bitcoin holdings from when they initially purchased. So it's kind of like a Hippocratic, news story. But when he launched that story along with some other stories that came in at the same time, coincidentally, the market tanked. So what I want to say is his tweet after about a few weeks of all the negativity, he says, "Look, if you can prove to me that Bitcoin is mined more than 50% in renewable energy, I'll let Bitcoin allowed for transactions of cars." Well, it's already been proven, so it's just not a matter of time before Elon, makes that announcement again. But what happened when Bitcoin was kicked out of China, and that's not a bad thing. People thought it was bad, but it's not, is because a lot of those mining was done with coal-provided non-renewable resources. And all the miners moved to cheaper Bitcoin mining where you have renewable fuels. What the difference is that if your cost of electricity is more than what you're mining, then it's not a viable business. So they have to find the cheapest power out there, which is what they're doing. But this is such a cool story. Bitcoin mining to provide heat in Vancouver, Canada. Mint Green and the LSE joined forces to supply heating for North Vancouver through released energy from Bitcoin mining. So when you're mining Bitcoin, you have energy, and then sometimes there's a surplus that you don't use. Instead of that energy just going to waste, they're using that surplus in energy to help fuel and heat the homes in northern Vancouver. I thought that was absolutely fantastic news. We're always looking for news like that to where, like in El Salvador, where they've got the mining fueled by their volcanoes. I mean, that's crazy, right? And then, there's also talks of Elon Musk creating a solar farm strictly for mining Bitcoin with his solar panels and his technology.
You're right. A lot of it was such a non-story to begin with. Everybody likes, it was in the news. It was, I'm an environmentalist. I have kids that are going to inherit this planet from me. And so I care very much, but everybody forgets to talk about how much power consumption is used just through the regular banking system.
Amen.
Nobody even talks about that. So, it's a bit of a non-story, but I do love stories like this. Hey, we got a question in the chat. Let me see if I can bring this up. I still like BTC over any BTC EFT. What are your thoughts?
That's a great question. Buying South Florida, thank you very much for chiming into our chat here. Absolutely. If you know what you're doing, and we're going to put together another stream probably maybe next week where we'll go into um, the proper ways of buying and everything like that. If you know what you're doing, buying your own Bitcoin and holding it safely is definitely the best thing. But
Hmm.
right now, where the futures ETF, it's a stepping stone. I'm not a
Right.
huge fan. It's not the save all, but as soon as they got a spot ETF, I am definitely going to buy that in my IRA or my Roth IRA so that I can earn the gains and not have to pay capital gains tax on it. There are some other platforms. One of it's called iTrust, where you
Hmm.
can set up an IRA where you can buy and sell crypto and other commodities and stocks within there. Again, tax free as long as you're within your limits of your IRA platform. But absolutely, right now where we're sitting today, holding spot Bitcoin on your own platform is definitely the way I would go. Again, not financial advice, but it's just our opinion. But once we do have that spot ETF where it's backed by physical Bitcoin, where you're getting the real true price point, and it's tracking the Bitcoin price immediately and directly, and I can trade that into my own retirement accounts. That to me is a no-brainer. I'm going to go, heavily into that because of the fact that you're not going to have to pay the capital gains on any of your gains that you collect over the time until you retire.
Right. Absolutely. But the other thing, of course, you're right. Owning BTC is helping the cause. If you want to look at it like that, you are creating that demand that we need
Mm-hmm.
on the supply demand curve. So yeah, I get it, but I also love that there is an ETF because that does, it just opens up the world to, our parents, the
Public
uh,
perception, right? Public
public
perception.
perception, the markets, all these people, Bloomberg is still on the fence about Bitcoin. So, it just makes it that much more real to a lot more people. So I'm appreciative of it, but yeah, I'm with you. I
Sure.
definitely like the coins more than the funds. But there's definitely
Well,
room in this space for both.
it absolutely. Let me just add to that. Okay, once you have a spot ETF, think about all of the institutions, not only the ones that are holding the Bitcoin to back the ETFs, but think about all the institutions that are now going to get direct exposure to their clients. Let's just say they put 5% of their clients' wealth into Bitcoin or into a Bitcoin ETF. We're talking about tens of trillions of dollars worth of market cap
Hmm.
increase. And what's really cool is that you don't need a dollar for dollar investment to increase the market cap. From what I understand, it's a quarter percent or 25%. So every 25% or dollar wise will increase the market cap 100%. So if you put in 25 or 250 billion dollars, you're increasing the market cap to a trillion. And I don't know how those metrics works, but I know somebody else has explained it on one of the other streams I was listening to. So I thought it would be interesting for people to know that. But
Hmm.
it's super exciting to see it become more mainstream. And once it becomes more mainstream and accepted, especially on the a publicly traded stock market, more institutions, are going to put more of their investment money into those dollars, which is going to create a huge increase in the Bitcoin price, which as a Bitcoin holder myself it could be life changing, and that's exciting.
There are, while we're on that subject, um, you can also buy into companies like this. And again, this is, we're not financial advisors, but this is just, on our radar. Companies like Riot, RIOT, or Mara, MARA. These are basically companies involved in the space. They do a lot of mining. They do things in the space, so they're not necessarily an ETF. They don't it's not a coin fund, although the company probably does own a lot of coins on their own because they mine it. You can invest into companies like this, and so if you do believe the space is going up, Riot moves a lot like Bitcoin does. If you put the charts on
Yes.
top of each other, they're very, very similar. They move in a similar way. They're not
Right.
exact, of course, but they do move.
Definitely a great way to get exposure if you don't want to buy Bitcoin as well, or if you don't want to get into a
Absolutely.
fund, because they're definitely correlated and definitely move very similar together as the market moves.
Yeah.
So absolutely two great pieces of advice there, Chris. And again, not financial advice, but things that we do on ourselves. I
Uh,
definitely have invested in Riot in the past.
One more comment from buying South Florida. If you didn't get a 5.4 raise this year, you took a pay cut. Exactly. A lot of people aren't going to understand that. You want to explain that, John?
You know what? Inflation is crazy, and I think Mario is being very generous for that number. And I
Yeah.
think the market, the market is not really sharing the true number of inflation. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you know, it's not just used cars, it's not just vehicles, it's food, it's everything, it's gas. Gas has gone up $1
Yeah.
in the last 6 months, if not more in some places.
Which is like 20 to 25%.
Right.
Yeah.
I bought my truck about 14 or 15 months ago with 6,000 miles on it, and I paid a certain amount of money. Right now, I've got 30,000 miles on that truck, and I can get $6,000 more for that truck today than when I bought it. I mean, it's mind blowing. Are you talking about inflation? I mean, 5.4%. That's not even scratching the surface. So,
Housing market.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I mean,
You know.
again, let's talk about real estate for a second. I
Yeah.
bought a home for an investment property last year. I paid a little over 400,000 for it, and I've got it on the market right now for $675,000. I've gotten 11 showings in the first 3 days, and we're expecting a bidding war. So I'm probably going to get more than that. And I did put
Yeah.
some money into it to remodel it,
Mhm.
but that is where we're at. The value of the dollar, because they keep printing, is going through the roof,
Yeah.
and everything else is going through the roof as well. And
Mhm.
not only that, because we're not really buying American-made products, we're putting huge, uh, you know, impact on shipping to here, and shipping containers are going up like literally 300%. I was talking to somebody who brings stone in from Turkey, and she said her containers used to cost $3,000. This year, they're upwards of $12,000. That's a 4x. That's a
Wow.
400% inflated price to get the same stone from Turkey to here for them to sell it, and that price is being directly put on to the
Yep.
retailer or the wholesaler that's buying it.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think you're going to need to put a little bit more percentage on top of that raise to cover your expenses.
I
But
would
great
agree.
point there, Mario. Great point.
Yeah. No,
Love
it
it.
is an excellent point. Well, you guys, like we said, we are not financial advisors. We just a lot of attention to this stuff. And if you guys have questions, drop us a note. We will get back to you. We're happy to share the knowledge that we've accumulated and continue to accumulate. This is kind of what we do each day, is understand what's going on so that we can kind of keep pace with the whales. We can do what we can.
Absolutely. And
Awesome.
make sure you guys
Thank
like and subscribe, share this video. We're going to post it up on all the socials. So if you see it out there from one of us, please share it with your friends. And please tune in tomorrow. We're going to be definitely digging into some more financial literacy, some financial 101, just some basic knowledge of how to dabble your toes into investing. And again,
Exactly.
we're not providing financial advice, but we're going to give you the information that we've learned along the way and what we know that works, and we've seen other experts use, and it works for them. So please tune in tomorrow to see us again and chat up some financial literacy, some financial 101. We're excited for that day.
Absolutely. We'll catch you guys later. Make today amazing.